Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Trinidad, Colorado. Today's verse is 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and righteous to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Now, if we remember back in verse 4, John wrote, "These things we write so that our joy may be made complete." So what we're reading today should bring us a lot of joy. Now let's first start with a little bit of word etymology. I want to look at three words. The first one being that very first word, if. That word can be translated as when. It is not necessarily conditional. So you could potentially say, whenever we confess our sins, and he is faithful and just to forgive us, okay? So that's the first one. The second one is the word confess. That word is often used not necessarily in conjunction with sin, but in conjunction with our love relationship with Jesus Christ. So you could even call it profess rather than confess. But let's look at a very famous verse that uses the same word. That's Romans 10:9. That if you confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So confession is not necessarily only in regards to sins. It could be just, I confess I love Jesus. Now back to our main verse. The third word I'd like to get is that word cleanse. The word cleanse in the Gospels is often used in conjunction with leprosy or some other disease as being healed from that. So cleansing from leprosy. And here's a thought that's going to tie in. When Jesus cleansed someone in the New Testament of leprosy, did he have to keep cleansing them over and over? Or was it a one-time cleansing and they were done with leprosy forever? I think we would agree it's the latter. And that's going to tie in to how he cleanses us from all sin, past, present, and even future. So, in understanding this verse, there are two extremes. The first extreme is the one that worries that, oh no, if I don't confess every sin instantly, and I happen to die with an unconfessed sin, I'm going straight to hell, and everything I did as a Christian is for naught. That's an extreme. I do not buy that at all. But then that leads to the other extreme on the other side, which says, well, gee, we only have to confess once at the moment of salvation, and then we never have to confess ever again. And I'm going to say, no, that's another extreme, that confession should be a natural part of a Christian's life as part of his love relationship to get closer to God. So, with that all in mind, I want to get to something a little bit fun to think about. It says that he will cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And I'm going to suggest that even that could mean that he's going to cleanse us from sinning more and more, in that we can sin less and less as we're a Christian. I mean, doesn't that make sense that a Christian should be on board in his walk to at least sin less and less over time? So here's the proposition. Is it possible for a true Christian who really loves God and has given him everything to never sin again? And I'm not talking about the sin nature. Yes, we always have the sin nature, but to actually never commit a sin again. Follow this logic. Is it possible for a true Christian to go for 1 second without sinning? I think most of us would agree, sure. Maybe when we're worshiping or something. How about 2 seconds? How about 10 seconds? How about a minute? And we just keep the time stretching out. Isn't it possible for a Christian to go for a stretch of time without sinning? And as we are plugged into walking with the Spirit whispers to us to correct us if we are in error, and we confess that. We'll be less needing to confess as we are more in tune with him and just get closer and closer. I say that we can go for longer stretches all the time as without sinning as we fall in love with him and give him everything. Because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average Wretch, and I hope you have a great week.